Today's episode is brought to you by Viralcast, the first and only completely done-for-you podcast production service. Build new relationships, create a deeper connection with your database, and get exposure to new audiences. Here's how it works. You interview influencers in your market. You start building that new relationship. Then you take that valuable content and share it with your database. Your guest then shares the content with their list. Everybody wins. You get new relationships, you create a deeper connection with your list, and get exposure to new people that you would never have access to. And look, if you're currently mining your database with video, stop. Audio is the new reality. We are living in an influence economy. Exposure is the new social capital. Go to Viralcast with a K to learn more. And right now, for the first 25 subscribers, we're offering a 50% off the getting started price. Welcome to Super Agents Live. This is the one place where you can come and hear the most successful people in real estate. You'll hear how these super agents built their businesses, how they stay productive, and how they stay motivated. Who am I? My name's Toby Salgado, and I made my first $1 million in real estate. Yeah. And I'm your host for the next 30 minutes while we talk to yet another amazing real estate entrepreneur. Stay tuned.
Let's go! Yeah.
Hey everybody, what's up? How's it going? If you've just found this show, I'm glad. Look, here's what we do on this show. We break it down. What are top producing people doing? Right? What's working in marketing? Both online and offline, all that stuff. Now look, today's guest is a rock star. And listen, I will tell you that this is, you know, sometimes I get inspired, right? I get into somebody's story and it's, you know, and you'll hear me when I get into some people's stories because I start asking about them personally, right? I get away from their business and I know when I'm doing it. I'm sitting here talking into the mic. I know what I'm doing. I can't help myself. And I don't know. I mean, maybe sometimes you guys you guys dig that too. Maybe you don't. Now, today's guest was a little bit like that, but not really. I actually got inspired by this guy, man. He's a 31-year-old Canadian, 31 years old. The guy makes well over $1 million a year. And he's only been doing this in real estate for, 7 or 8 years. So pretty inspiring. He's doing a lot of the right stuff. So we dig into it, and we dig into definitely kind of what he's doing. So that's it. I hope, and we cover a lot. We cover marketing, we cover mindset. I hope you like it. Now, look, before we get there, I just want to let you know, I don't know what's up, man, but radio is in the air. We are signing up people left and right. We actually, today's guest is a Canadian. He reached out to us. We've actually just onboarded 3 Canadian new radio clients. But if you are out there and you want to grow your business and get listings, come list me leads, you got to do radio. You can go check out Real Estate Radio Experts, or you know what you do? Go to the site. I want you to go to the site either way. Go to superagentslive.com. And on there, we have a Dominate with Radio tab. Check it out. And while you're there, download my free ebook, get on my list, and I share stuff with my list that I don't share anywhere else. All right. Real quick, I would love for you to join the conversation. My Twitter handle is @SuperAgentsLive. And I got to tell you real quick, our last episode was really good. So if you missed it, go back and check it out. It was with the one and only Tom Ferry. And you guys kind of blew up Twitter, man. I got a lot of feedback, and Tom certainly appreciated it, and so do I. So @SuperAgentsLive on Twitter, hashtag for the show is Unpack That Idea. Let's hit it. Oh, hey, you know what? If you go to the website, subscribe to the show if you haven't already. And by the way, there are people that listen to this show like on the internet, right? They go to the site. They hit play, and that's okay. That's all right. If you are at your desk, you can certainly do that. But you can't, audio is portable. It's packable. You want to take it with you. And I just wrote an article for Inman.com on podcasting. So go check it out. But listen, because it's portable, subscribe to the show. Get it on your phone. It's a free thing. It just rolls up. But look, while you're there, if you subscribe, look, we would love a review. That definitely helps other people find the show. All right. Hey, that's it. Let's get to it. Today on the show, you guys, for some reason, you guys like when I have Canadians on. So we don't have them often. Today we have a Canadian. Now, I got to tell you about this guy. This guy is, I've had a few conversations with him. He's a humble guy. Here, let me tell you what he's doing. 7 agents on his team. He's got 4 inside sales, 3 admin. Last year he did about 250 deals, but he did another 85, 90 new development deals that he doesn't like to talk about. Last month, the guy made $300K, and he makes well over $1 million GCI. And you know what? He's 31 years old. I told him he was a baller, and he's like, I don't feel like it. I humble. I'm thrilled to welcome Michael St. Jean. Hey, Michael, thanks for taking the time out.
Hey, Toby. Thanks for having me, man.
You got it. So look, let's dig into your story. You're 31 years old. I think you're killing it. You have big goals. Most people, Michael, if they were at doing what you're doing, they'd feel like they're on top of the world. I talk to these people. You're like, yeah, I'm looking for 1,000. Tell us a little bit about yourself, then we'll get into what you're doing.
Well, yeah, like you said, I'm 31 years old. I got into the business probably 7, 8 years ago, something like that. My parents had been realtors since 1979, something like that. And so ever since I was a little kid, I basically knew that I wanted to be in real estate. I never really considered anything else, never thought of anything else. I remember my dad used to take me out on appointments as a kid. A lot of, at the time when the market was kind of taking a crash there in the late 80s, and a lot of bank sales and stuff like that. And so ever since I was little, I kind of always had been around real estate and in the business. Come grade 12, I was short probably 3 credits. I kind of decided school wasn't for me. I already knew what I wanted to do, and I didn't need a high school diploma to get it done. So I went into my guidance counselor at the time, thanked her, told her she was a great lady. I understood what I was doing, and I walked out of school. So I went right over, applied for my realtor's license through the Ontario Real Estate Association here in Ontario, and I started the process right away. And from there, I figured, and the interesting thing is that having parents in the business, I sort of assumed that because they'd always been fairly successful, that, I kind of had something coming for me, and I thought, well, my dad's been around a long time, they're hustlers. They always were top producers in their office. They must have this big business. I can't wait to go join them and, make lots of money. And when I got I got licensed, we went over and I joined Royal LePage, which is a big franchise here in Canada, mostly Canadian. And I hooked up with my parents and started working with them. But what I realized really quick was that, despite the fact that they'd been successful, they had never really created a business. And so, they were just grinders, door knocking, for sale by owners. I mean, as a kid, every night from, 6 to 8, they'd hit the phones. And, it was kind of one of those things where they're always just doggy paddling. And luckily, because they were able to outwork most people in the marketplace, they were always able to do good. But when I got there, I thought, well, where's the 20 years worth of past clients? Where's the machine? Where's the business? And I realized they didn't have a real business in that sense. They were always able to, get by and do really well just from pure hustle. And at the same time, at around that point, they had retired about 5 years earlier, and all they were doing was selling new homes. They hooked up with a couple of builders. They were selling 400, 500, 600 homes a year, making fabulous money, working a couple of days a week. And for them, they were done. They kind of, got back into it a little bit for my sake at the time, but when I got there, I realized there wasn't really anything. And of course, when you get into real estate, you kind of think, it's a great business. You can make as much money as you want, drive a nice car, work your own hours, the typical thing that most people think. And I realized that, very early on that there was nothing further from the truth. It's a job that requires a lot of hustle, and there was really no real support systems there for me. My brokerage, they don't offer you anything, no leads. You get a phone, here's a few business cards, good luck, figure it out.
Right.
So it was at that point that I basically, I got out, started pounding the pavement. I door knocked for months, 8 hours a day, making phone calls, flipping door hangers, little, advertising door hangers on people's doorknobs, letters, you name it, visiting for sale by owners on a daily basis, all day, all night, and started hustling through those means to, make some money to then reinvest that money in myself and to learn, reading books, coaching, whatever it took. And from there, started building a team and took a team and after a few short years, started a brokerage to house my sales team. And that's where I am at today.
So that's a great story, Michael. The main thing that I got out of that, the main thing that I find super interesting is that you were somehow able to, number one, different. Here's what you said. You said, your parents never really built a business, and here's how I see that. I think there's a difference between, and I think you're saying the same thing that I'm about to say, but the difference between a business and a company is a business relies on you to be there. A company has structures, systems, processes, staff that you are actually the CEO. And how did you, despite your upbringing, despite everything that you've seen since you were a little kid, how did you actually understand that you could create something bigger and that your parents didn't reach the potential of, that they didn't build that company or build that business and that they were just doing onesie twosies? How did you see that without, you know what I mean? Where were you exposed to that you could recognize that being so young? Well,
you could see, and you're right. It's all about, eliminating yourself and from the process, and do things still work? Do they still move? And it was obvious. My mom and dad, they would make some calls, they'd get a few appointments, do a few deals, and if the next week they decided to just sit on their hands, where was that next deal coming from? And it just became very obvious to me that it was all dependent on their hustle. Now, they're unique people in the sense that they could literally hustle all day, all night, and never stop and keep the doggy paddling going. And that's great. But to me, I wanted to work smart, not just hard. And so I wanted to really create the business. I wanted there to be something that moved and something that, created the sales and the whole bit, and it was automated. That for me was the most important thing. I think seeing them work so hard as a kid, that was one indicator for me. Working hard is great, but just the continuous paddling is not something that I was really interested in. At the same time, I saw that they had a ton of potential, and despite the success they did have, I always felt that it could have been done differently. And as a kid, having the benefit of watching them go through the motions, my goal was always to take the successes that they had, but to expand on them and to do it differently. I looked at it as me having a clean slate to start from scratch. If my dad was to do it again, how would he do it today? And that was the way I did it.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think this points back to, you're an interesting character, right? I said that you were humble in the beginning, but I think that what is very evident to you, and it was very evident to you, what your parents, their shortfalls or what they didn't do. I don't think it would be evident to the vast majority of people. I think the vast majority of people would step into their business and just go, oh, well, this is how it's done. And just plod along and follow in those footsteps. So in terms of you recognizing that, What did you read? School wasn't for you. I mean, were you this kid, this 12-year-old kid reading business books, or like?
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit of an oddball, to be honest with you. I wasn't Mr. Popular. Ever since I was little, I was, again, kind of always wanting to be into business, talking about it. On the weekends, I was throwing out open house signs in front of my parents' house, and strangers were walking in through the door. I was a little odd, but when I went to high school, I'm pretty much self-taught. So for me, I would go to school, I'd bring a book, I'd bring a newspaper, I'd bring the latest Times magazine, and I'd sit in the back of the class and I'd read on my own. So I wasn't a bad kid. I didn't disturb. I didn't cause problems. I didn't get kicked out of class. What I didn't do was not learn something that I wasn't interested in learning. So I was a little bit of an oddball in that way. I read a lot of books, business books, politics, biographies, following up on other successful people, how they did it. It doesn't matter what field. I mean, you can learn things from, people in music, from people in politics. That to me is the greatest thing in the world. I'm a learner, so I spend probably 70% of my day learning, reading, watching webinars, online courses, coaching, you name it. I'm pretty much at all hours of the day listening to something or watching something or reading something.
Huh.
So, I mean, the information's out there. If you want to, accomplish something or to be successful, it's out there. You just have to find it, and you've got to read it, you've got to consume it, but most of all, you have to act on it. And I find most people have a problem with action and execution.
Yeah, absolutely. There are those people out there who, like you, will consume, stuff 23 hours a day, but, the next day comes and they just consume more instead of sitting down at their desk and actually doing something. But, there's very much this, as you tell your story, whether it's in school or in business, there's very much this, this thread of you doing it your way. I don't know. I don't want to beat this. It's to me, this is fascinating, but let's move on. So, it sounded to me, or, very much you found your passion, right? You knew what you wanted to do. Tell me about your why, Michael. Why was there such an alignment with real estate and Michael St. Jean?
Yeah, I think it's the only thing I've ever seen, the only thing I ever knew. And for me, I'm a competitive person, so my mission has always just been to be the best that you could possibly be in the field. I want to be remembered as, the guy that did it, that achieved that number or that level that wasn't achievable before, or that is very difficult to achieve. For me, I want to win. I don't know exactly what the why is underlying. And believe me, I've read the books and the courses. People are trying to figure that out all day, every day. For me, I think deep down, I want to prove to people that I can do it and that I can be the best in my field. So for me, I think it's all about it's a competitive nature. To me, this is a sport. It's a lifestyle. And, it could have been something else maybe, but I think the influence of my family kind of installed the real estate end of it for me, and just by nature, and with that already there, I figure if I'm going to win at something, I might as well win at this.
So we had a conversation a week or two ago offline, and you were telling me some of your numbers, and I was like, dude, you're a baller. And you said, I don't feel like it. Like, you are clearly, a very successful guy. You're a young guy. What for you success? Like, when are you going to step back? And again, this is for me, man. When are you going to step back and go, yeah, man, I'm successful. I've made it.
You know what? To be honest with you, as much as I used to think it was about the money, I don't think it is. For me, I think I just want to be the best. I just want to be number one, and I don't even think it's about the money, because if it was, there's a lot of people having great lives making, the amount of money I make and a lot less. So for me, I've never been one of those people. I'm not about that. I like nice things. Everybody does. but my number one priority is to be number one. And so it's not about the dollars. I don't think there's a dollar figure. I don't have a magic number where, hey, if I make this, I'm content. To me, it's about the deals. It's about the sales. It's about, achieving things that most people can't achieve. I just bringing it up to that level, to me, the extreme nature of it, there's a high that I get off of it.
And what is that? Is it like I love closing a deal, man. I love closing a deal. That gets me off. All the other stuff, I'm like, yeah, but if I can pitch somebody and so what is it about a deal that gets you going?
To me, it's the excitement. Like, the art of the sale is amazing. Whether that's working with a buyer or a seller or doing a new development launch, working with an investor and getting them into something where they make money. There's something about the whole sell that is energizing. It is exciting. And there's a lot of risk reward in this business. You spend money to make money, and you're kind of living on the line. Like, at least you feel that way sometimes. There's just the high off of it, to me, at least. That's what
I hear you. I agree.
Yeah. Similar to what you're kind of saying. It's the feeling you get. It's not necessarily the commission. I don't sit there and count the commission. I never have. I don't pay a lot of attention to that kind of stuff, to be honest with you. You've got to pay enough attention to make things make sense and make sure things are working, but it's not about that. I don't know when my next deal closes and how much I'm getting. I'm not calculating that kind of stuff. To me, it's about the challenge, and sometimes there's challenges that are things that you can take on in this business that are challenging. For example, some of the new development work I do. There's projects that I've launched here that some thought were impossible as far as price points or scale or locations. You'll never be able to sell this in this area at this price. And to me, a lot of it is just being able to prove people wrong and showing people that if you do the right things, you can make things happen.
Got it. Okay. So look, you're doing a lot of the right things. Clearly, we can look at the numbers. What are some of the things that you're doing right now? Again, you're a guy that's forging your own path, right? You're out in the jungles of Vietnam, just hacking your way through, creating another trail rather than taking the guy that already, the other trail. What are you doing right now that is working, or what have been doing that's really working for you?
Yeah, I noticed with a lot of agents the similar patterns, with different forms of marketing and systems and whatnot. And I've not really looked at anybody in particular and duplicated what they were doing. For me, I kind of just look at things in my own way, like you said, my own path. And, I see one of the biggest opportunities out there today being the internet. I've done traditional marketing like the newspapers and whatnot, and some of those forums work great. Others, complete waste of money, i.e. the newspapers. And for me, I just look at everything as a long-term process. So this is a war. It's not just a battle. And, I can go and I can fight people, through the means that they're already advertising and approaching the business, or I can create my own lane. And for me, the internet, with a lot of the different elements involved in that, create opportunities. And I'm a younger guy, so I see things through a little bit of a different lens. The social media, the search, the banner advertising, and different things, and email, the power of email marketing. And none of my competitors are, and most agents out there aren't really tackling these new age forms of lead generation. So for me, I could go head to head with the next guy and throw 5 ads in the newspaper or send out 1 million flyers. But why do that when I can come in from a different angle? Marketing has never been more complex in a lot of ways. It's also never been more rewarding for the people that understand it and know how to work it. A lot of the forms of marketing that are out there today, have some expiry date on them as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And so I would rather jump into new oceans now, learn, master them, and create that lane so that by the time the others realize that they need to move in those directions,
too late.
I'm already there and I already own them.
Yep, absolutely. So, and look, I'm gonna throw you under the bus, man. On the because when we talked, you have a crazy big email list. How big is your email list?
As of right now, we're just over 40,000.
Insane.
And we're increasing probably 2,000 to 3,000 a month at this point.
I mean, I will tell everybody that, I firmly believe that, email is the most valuable spoke in your wheel. And you're not doing much, unfortunately, with that list, which is crazy to me. But how did you build such a giant list? I mean, again, you've only been in this business for 8 years. How in the world did you build a 40,000 person email list?
Well, you know what? It's a matter of automating. And so, through various, websites online, whenever people are filling out, requests for information, property listings, home evaluations, whatever, I'm basically taking all of those leads and I'm funneling them into one big email list. And so, it's just a matter of being organized and taking all your opportunities and putting them all into your email system, your past clients, all that sort of thing. A lot of people aren't maximizing all of those opportunities. The Realtor.ca inquiries, which is, like your Zillow, Realtor.com,
sure. Yep.
Those sorts of things. I mean, most agents don't even follow up with a lead, let alone take it and put it into their database.
Right.
So whenever you go on our website, if you fill in anything, it's automatically going into the CRM. It's being put in a list. And you're right. Like, I haven't moved in that direction. That's one of the next pieces to the pie that I'm going to tackle. I kind of, I realize there's a big circle with a lot of different avenues to generate leads in this business. And, I focus on a few things at a time. And then as I master those, I move to the next. But to give you an idea of like the power of email, when my list was probably 7,000 or 8,000 deep, I had an opportunity to bring some investors in on a condo project here before it actually opened up. Builder I had a bit of a relationship with, he said, Mike, listen, why don't I bring you the contracts and some of the rough floor plans, and you know what? If you got some people, bring them in and we'll get you guys on paper before we even take this out to our own people and open the doors. So I sent out one email, just rough. I kind of, scratched it out myself, and, like I said, I wasn't a scholar, and just quick little email about an investment opportunity, boom, 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 boom. I sent it out, and 10 days later I had about 150 people at my office, and I ended up selling 114 condos in one night from a single email.
Insane. Oh, that is crazy, dude.
Email's powerful if you harness it and you use it effectively. And I mean, that's just one example of what I could probably do if I was really working it, which
I know you could.
Start working.
Yeah, I know you could. So okay, and I agree with you, right? People, all traffic is either earned or paid, and if you don't, I'm a firm believer, if you don't take or put in front of that consumer, right, that you got to your website or got to your content or whatever it is, if you don't try to capture their name and email address, that's a wasted opportunity. How are
Totally.
you? What you have to be driving a substantial amount of traffic in order to have that. Mm-hmm. How are you doing that? What are you doing? Are you creating content? What are you doing to get people to your site in order for them to make some kind of inquiry to you?
Well, I mean, to me, I started off with a couple of years ago, I was in newspapers. I was doing direct mail. I used to call the for sale by owners and, all of your traditional stuff, cold calling, all that. I moved sort of into the papers, and the flyers was sort of my next step. And then I realized with those things that, not only were they kind of dying, but there was a ton of competition. I open my mailbox right now, there's probably 10 real estate flyers from 10 different people. And with the new technologies, with, search technologies and advertising through Google, through Bing, and different things of that nature, you can say to yourself, well, if I spend $1, I know I'm going to get this result. And for me, I'm a pretty analytical kind of person. I like understanding and structure and measurement. So I thought, well, I'm dumping tens of thousands of dollars into, newspaper and into direct mail. What if I were to take those budgets and spend them on the internet? I mean, nobody's really opening up a newspaper today to find their next home. They're going on Google. They're going homes for sale in whatever area. And that's where the traffic is. I mean, despite, the fact that a lot of people would love for the newspaper to become popular again or whatever, the facts are that they're going on the internet. And so why not put yourself and your ad dollars in front of the people where they're going and capture them that way? So I took all the money being spent and I rerouted it into, search. And my mission was to own search in my areas. And for any time somebody's looking for anything related to what we do here in real estate, to be the person that appears. And so I've been working that pretty heavily. And, of course, knowing how to structure things. I mean, you go on the average, agent's website, and it's ungated. They're not capturing leads. They're not asking people to register. They're not asking for you to provide an email to get that report or that information. Yep. And so knowing sort of when to gate things and to leave things ungated, having that balance so that you're, of course, not pissing people off, but you're also not giving everything away without capturing leads is sort of the key. And for me, number one was kind of tackling search. Of course, as a result, you build up a big email list, and I guess the next logical step is start working the email list and giving and delivering content and generating leads from that. And you kind of just start tackling these things one at a time. I mean, in my opinion, I think one of the most untapped areas right now is Facebook. I mean,
Absolutely.
I know businesses generating millions in sales only through Facebook. And I'm not sure anybody's quite cracked the code as far as real estate goes, but to me, that's sort of my next mission at the moment.
And dude, I can help you with that. And people, I was just going to ask that, right? Google pay-per-click is one thing, and then Facebook ads. Facebook ads, I think, are way. I think once you start to do Facebook ads, you're going to drop the pay-per-click only because it's cheaper. You can really dig into a demographic, all that stuff. Now. So I want to ask about those ads. So, hold on. Let's talk about gating real quick, right? So just so everybody's clear, this is how I gate, right? So if you go to my website, if you go to superagentslive.com and you've never been there before, what's going to pop up is a giant light box. It takes up the whole page. And I go, give me your name and email address. And and I have multiple ways for me to capture your email address on my website. There's 3 different ways for me to get that. Now, the first is I just gate it. Now, you can close it out if you want, but most people put in their name and email address, and I get between 30 to 100 new people on my list every single day. Now, when it comes to gating, here's what I would say to you, Michael. I would say create content, right, around whatever, some kind of blog post. Gate that, but when it comes to search, don't gate that. Or if you want to gate that, gate it only after, they do 2 searches, they do a third, then gate it. How do you see gating? Explain that to people and how you actually use it.
Yeah, I mean, there's different methodologies behind it. Some say give it all away and give people a great experience and they'll love you and want to do business with you and then you'll capture them. Then there's others that are sort of don't give anything away. They'll take you for everything you've got and you'll get no lead out of it. For me, I've probably been more in the direction of just pure gating, but I'm realizing that there's a science behind that, and I think you're right in the sense that certain things should be gated, others should not be gated, or maybe a blend where you let them look at 3 or 4 listings, or maybe you let them look at the basic information, but if they want to dig a little deeper, now you're asking them for the registration. I think it's a blend. I think it's not giving away all the goods, but I think giving them some access to some level to get their, taste buds excited and then work them in through the funnel. And I think, too, with content, there's certain types of content that you probably just want to let out of the bag. maybe some types of blog posts for just general education, the day-to-day. Maybe you let that out of the bag, but you capture them through some call to actions on those pages or within blog posts. I think blogging is probably, I mean, it sounds funny because, as realtors, I feel like we're kind of always a little bit behind the curve, but I think blogging is one of the biggest areas that's untapped. I know you've had someone on your show that's not far from me doing, a couple hundred deals a year running a blog.
Yep.
And I think you got to look at it as, different little elements, right? You've got to look at search. You've got to look at social. You've got to look at email. You've got to look at blogging. You've got to slowly add all those different pieces. If you want to get to the level that I want to get to. If you can do a couple hundred sales from blog and a couple hundred from search and a couple hundred from email, you add those together and, of course, you create the number that you're looking to obtain. Yep. I think, there's a lot going on in these areas. There's never been a better time to be in the business as far as I'm concerned. If you know what's going on and you're staying educated and you're on the cusp. If you're just kind of, beating your head against the wall and just doing what you've always been doing, I think if you're not already starting to feel stressed, give it another 12, 24 months, 36 months, and you're going to feel that things are starting to slip.
Absolutely. Well, so I think one of the things that again, I agree with you. There's a lot of stuff going on out there. There's a lot of opportunities for you to go out and get leads, get customers, whatever. I think the big problem that people or the big mistake that people make is even if they jump into blogging, for example, they won't, that one simple call to action that you should have in everything, they don't put in there. Like they get 90% of it right, get that critical 10% wrong, and then they get it doesn't work, and then they quit.
Totally. and that goes for all the things I've mentioned and the ones that I haven't.
Yeah. Okay.
I think at the end of the day, you're right. I don't think there's any magic recipe. I don't think there's any easy business anymore. If we're talking about, real estate 2016 and moving forward, I don't think the average realtor is going to cut it. I think you've really got to dive deep. You've got to really run a business. You've got to really do marketing and have a marketing team or hire the right people that understand these different things. If you're going to do radio, hire a radio guy. If you're going to do social, hire a Facebook expert that understands funnels and marketing and targeting and, all the demographics and all the rest. Yep. You got to really, really dive deep. And I think for that purpose, you're seeing people just getting out of the business, or they're floundering, or they're, joining teams who sort of have some of these things down, because you could literally spend your whole life trying to figure out how to do any one of these things that we're talking about. You got to go all in. There's no more just kind of giving it a try and it didn't work, let me try something else. There's really no avenue today that isn't complicated to some level.
Yep. No, I agree. And and again, I think it's, whether it's radio or Facebook ads or whatever, I think it's that little tiny nuance that you really need to be able to speak that language. And it's that little thing that, again, you and I have talked about radio. There's four things you got to get right. You get three of them right, one of them wrong, it's not going to work. So I agree.
Yep.
So, but look, you, number one, seem to have clearly an abundance mindset, and when you think about a marketing channel, you're not afraid to vote with your wallet. You're not afraid to open up your wallet and go, okay, let me hire this guy. I'm not going to try to learn it myself. I think that is something rare for most people. Is that something that you've learned or developed, or is it just like the way you are?
You know what I find? It's a good question. I think when I look at my parents, I've probably learned more from them than anybody in the world, good and bad. And I'd say that for a long time they operated from a comfort or a scarcity kind of mindset, where it was, you know what, let's make this but save every penny, spend the least amount of possible, and have a great life. And I think you've gotta know how to save your money. You've got to have, investments. You've got to know how to grow. But at the same time, you don't want to stifle your growth by not spending and by holding back too much. And so for me, I've always looked at it as you've got to spend money to make money. I live in a way where if I shut my doors tomorrow, I could walk across the street to the grocery store and push buggies, and I could pay my bills. I don't, like that. That's just the way I think. Armageddon, comes. Will I be all right? Totally. I don't put myself in those kinds of pressures. So for me, it's allocating the funds for things that are important, spending in marketing, on manpower, on compensating people, and because to me the big picture is to go to a level so much higher than where I currently am. I'm not sitting back and enjoying, the moment. I'm not going out and leasing the car. I'm not doing those things, even though I could. To me, I'd rather put that extra money towards what's important to grow the business to get me to where I want to be. So for me, if there's a return on investment, I don't care what it costs. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's about what are you pulling out of it. And if you can spend $70,000 a month to make $500,000 a month, why wouldn't you spend 70?
Right. Yeah. Why? If I could spend $400,000 to make $500,000, why wouldn't I do it? If I can put $1 in the machine and get $1.50 or $2 out, I'd keep putting more dollars in. So I agree. But hold on, let me ask you this. This is just for me. So 31, you're killing it, dude. You're killing it. Are you telling me that you don't drive a Porsche or a Ferrari?
No, you know what? I used to drive. I had a couple Beamers, and I got rid of them, and I bought a smart car.
What do you wear? What kind of watch do you have?
I have a Gucci watch with some diamonds around it that a client bought me as a present after I sold them 4 investment properties.
That's funny, man. You are a funny guy. Okay, look. So there, I guarantee you, there are people listening to this right now, because I get those emails all the time. Dude, I probably, since we've started talking, 40 minutes we've been talking just about, I probably have at least 1 or 2 emails that I've gotten during this time with somebody saying the email that I get all the time, which is, hey, Toby, I'm just getting into real estate, and they ask me for some kind of advice. So for that person who's listening to this, and they're going, man, I want to model Michael. What are some of the first steps that they should do? Should they go out and, is it lead gen, or do they build a team, or like what should give some people some advice?
Well, I think one of the biggest problems I see is people putting the cart before the horse. I know agents they're not doing the kind of sales they should be, and they go out, pay $200, get a logo, call themselves a team, hire a couple people. There's not enough opportunity. They quit, and or they go out and they spend $10,000 on a billboard, marketing package, but they don't have any base business or foundational business to kind of keep them fueled and going until those things start to ROI. At the end of the day, what you need to do is start from the bottom. So unless you have money to spend, hundreds of thousands of dollars and no monthly expenditures that are holding you back, you got to start from the bottom. I mean, I started from the bottom. I had parents in the business for a long time. They're quite well off. But for me, I treated everything as being completely separate, completely new. When I got into the business, it was, need to get a credit line, need to go and, hustle, knock on doors, put, envelopes in people's mailboxes, make the cold calls, visit the FSBOs, hit your expireds, and you start working it like that. Because those things are easy. Kijiji ads. I used to post 30 to 40 Kijiji ads 2 to 3 times a day, 7 days a week, and field the calls that were coming off of those at the time. And you got to look at it as levels. So you start with those things that are basic, that are inexpensive or free, and you slowly work your way up. And, it's about being able to see the big picture. And so when you finally get that commission check, you don't go out and have dinner. You don't go on a trip to Mexico. You take it and you put it back in, and you put it back in, and over and over and over again. And 5 years later, now you have the budget. Now you've got the money to invest in some of those more productive marketing and lead generation tools so that you can get to the next level. So a lot of it's really just being consistent, having willpower, and knowing where your priorities are. Because a lot of people have the ability, some even generate the income, but they just don't know what to do with the money, or they don't have the ability to hold back and say, I'm not going to buy that right now because I've got something more important I need to invest in.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, if you're not willing to put it all on the line and take a step back sometimes and to make the right decisions, you're never going to get to the level you want to get to. I mean, you hustle until you get to the next level.
100%, man. 100%. And just for everybody, you said Kijiji. Kijiji is Canadians.
Kijiji is like your Craigslist.
Right, exactly right.
We have Craigslist here as well, but it's not, it's not as active as our Kijiji.
Right. Yeah. And Kijiji, I mean, it works. It works. Okay. All right, man. What? We could probably go on and on with you, but what's something? What should people know? I want people to get the nuggets of that. I mean, I think people are going to be inspired by your story, which I think is great, but like, what's a nugget that you can drop, man? And that's a terrible question because that's not a question at all. But I think I think you do have a wealth of information, or at least certainly a unique viewpoint that I don't think that I've gotten out of you. So what's something I should have asked you, but I didn't ask you?
It's a good question. I mean, there's no magic recipe. There's no magic trick. I think really, you got to go all in. You got to be 150%, 250% in this. You got to wake up, eat, sleep, and breathe the business. It's a lifestyle. It's not a job. It doesn't end. At the beginning, there may be no balance, and you've got to consume anything and everything you can possibly consume to grow your mind and to learn and to duplicate or find things that are working for others that may work for you. Investment in coaching, investment in learning, webinars. There's no magic, easy secret, which I think is a good thing because it's not about your natural ability. It's not about what you're born with. It's about what you become, and it's how you get there. And I think you can get into this business with zero budget. You can grind your way to the next level, and you spend the money on the right things. You learn from the right people, and you move forward. To me, that's the number one thing you can do. Read, listen to the podcasts like your podcast, and learn. Take on coaching. Work with people that know what they're doing. Maybe even consider not going out and trying to do your own thing out of the get-go. Go work for that guy that knows what's going on and maybe learn from him. I mean, for me, I did it on my own way, and I think if you want to find the information out there, it's there. It's right in front of your face. It's not about what you like doing. It's not about what you want to do. It's not about what you'd rather do. It's about what you need to do to get success. And I think people are always looking for that magic thing that feels good, that's going to bring them a new client. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to a few things. And, the information's there. You have to execute on it. You got to just take action. You can't be afraid. You can't be afraid of rejection or picking up a phone, of knocking on a door. And I think that's the number one. I mean, people are just afraid, or they just don't want to do what is necessary with the information in front of them. You just got to act. Take action, even if you don't know what you're doing. The worst thing that can happen is someone says no. Eventually, someone says yes, and
right.
You learn, and you just evolve.
And I think it comes down, dude, to the same that one word that you've used probably at least 10 times in this conversation, which is hustle. You know what?
That's it.
That's it. And everybody is looking for that silver bullet to load in their gun and go bang and like bang. Now now I'm getting deals. It's just hustle, man. And there's no. I think the bigger, broader point that you're making, Michael, is there's no necessarily right way to do it. It's just do it. I love it, man. I love it. Look, so do you have a coach right now?
I do not currently. No coach.
I bet coaching you would be freaking hard, dude.
You know what? I don't know. I mean, to me, I take things 100%. So if I believe in you and what, your abilities, if you tell me to do A, I'm doing A. I mean, I'm already gone doing it before you're finished saying the word. So I'm not one of those people that judges. I don't second guess. I don't overthink. I go. So to me, if it's the right coach with the right information and I believe in the person I'm working with, I'm a student. I will learn, I will execute, I'll act, and then I come back looking for more.
And I think, I think that points back to the thing that I said when I introed you, Michael, is that, you're humble. You even though you are by the world standards, you are extremely, extremely successful. You are 0.01, percent of agents, but it's not gone to your head. You're coachable, you have to be humble in order to be coachable. And so, again, we're going to start wrapping up. We have 10 minutes. When you were a kid, you were that kid taking a newspaper, a Time magazine article to school, and you were teaching yourself. I always ask for a book recommendation. Give us a couple books that you would recommend. I normally just ask for one, but for you, give us a couple.
The last one that I read, just probably wrapped up in the last few days, was Relentless, Tim Grover. He was Michael Jordan's coach. He was kind of that guy in the background that would be doing the 3 a.m. workouts and the whole bit. He was sort of Mike's magic secret weapon. And so he breaks down what it takes to be at that level. The difference between the other players on the team and the difference between Mike and the extra training, the extra hours, holding back from going out, from drinking, from you name it. I mean, this guy breaks down what it takes to be excellent to the very finest of details. And so to get inside of that guy's mind, and into the back of Michael Jordan's as well, is to me worth gold. I believe he also coached Kobe and a few others. Grover, if you look him up, Tim Grover, Relentless.
Yeah.
That's a fantastic book. I also read The Road to Excellence by K. Anders Ericsson. I think that was 1,000 pages, but that was the 10,000 hours rule that everyone talks about. The guy that came up with that information is actually K. Anders Ericsson. Everyone kind of started writing books off of that 10,000 hour, rule. It takes 10,000 hours or however many years to become great at what you do and to be iconic. And so I went right to the horse's mouth and I read that, and that was a very complicated book to read. But you know what? It was worth it. That was a great book. And let me think. Talent is Overrated by Jeff Colvin. That was a fantastic book. Again, talking about a lot of the elite performers in the world and what they had to do and the sacrifices they had to make to get to where they wanted to be. Of course, people only see, they only recognize people's greatness once they become great, but they miss the whole journey and all the steps it took to get there. And so this is really diving into the minds of the people that are working with these people and talking about what it is these guys are doing to get to where they want to be. And it's not what most people think. You're not born shooting hoops like Michael Jordan. Anybody could be Michael Jordan. It's about installing the right systems and the right habits to getting to where you want to be. So I'm big on that.
And dude, Michael, even with you in the books, you just mentioned 3 books that I've never heard of. By the way, I'm getting Relentless. As soon as we get off this line, I'm going to get it. So everybody, if you want to read some of this stuff that Michael's reading that has helped him shape who he is and the kind of business that he's grown, Relentless by Tim Grover, you can get a free copy on us. Just go to audibletrial.com/superagentslive. Look, let me ask you this, Michael, your 10,000 hours.
Yep.
I can tell you my 10,000 hours, that is in sales and persuasion. What is your 10,000 hours?
I think at the end of the day, it all comes in this business. If you're going to be successful, you've got to be good at selling. Whether that's selling to buyers, your services, selling to sellers, selling to the prospective buyers to get those listings closed, selling to your teammates, selling to people considering joining your team or your business. You've got to be good at selling and influencing people, because if you're not, you really can't put all the pieces together. So at the end of the day, it's about getting in front of people, being passionate, believing in what you do, and being able to transfer the comfort. Sales is the transfer of comfort. If you sit in front of someone, you can have all the information in the world, but if you can't relay it in a way that makes someone walk out of that room and feel comfortable, you didn't get a deal done, you didn't get your job done. So to me, it's all about influence, it's all about sales.
We're in complete alignment on that. Well, look, so I'm telling you, I'm certainly, I feel a little bit inspired after this. I feel like picking up my game. I'm sure a lot of other people feel that way. Are you, number one, what city are you? Oh, you're in Hamilton, Ontario.
I'm Hamilton, Ontario. Yep. Okay.
So I don't know, man. I wonder how many people in Hamilton want to go and join your team. Are you adding people to your team?
We are, definitely. I mean, as we scale up and become busier, we definitely are growing. I'm not one of those team leaders that kind of just hires anybody that walks. I'm very specific. A lot of my competitors, they'll hire anybody. For me, I'm very particular. It's about finding the right people. It's about understanding what this business is all about. Real estate's a lifestyle. I always say to people, don't sign up to be a paramedic if you're afraid of blood. And so if you're in real estate, you got to be able to work all hours, evenings, weekends. You got to jump when the phone rings. You've got to be there for people because things move at a quick pace. Buyers and sellers don't want to wait. There's always that next guy that'll take your lunch. And so you got to be available. You got to be on top of things. You don't treat this as a job. It's a lifestyle. So for me, I turn away. For every 99 people I turn away, I hire one person. So it's not always about will someone work for you. It's about who do you want being part of that team and being part of that culture. That to me is the most important.
I agree. Culture and I agree with that. Here's what I think. I think that you would be, just like I said, you would be, I think, hard to coach. And I could be wrong on that, right? Because later you said, hey, I'm pretty coachable. It seems to me that your drive, your energy, your passion, it seems like you would be a hard person to work for, only because you would expect the level at which you operate, everyone else to operate at that same level. Is that accurate or inaccurate?
To some level, it's true, for sure. But I mean, I would say that we as a team overall have a higher standard, and I think it's just a matter of finding the right people that also operate on that standard to be part of the team. There's people out there that want to be we're a high performance team. We do numbers in our marketplace that some teams need twice as many people to do. So for us, it's about just finding the right people with the right mindset. You got to also understand that, you look at things differently being, a business owner, a team leader. Everyone will not always want to operate at the same speed that you do or at the same level. And I think that one of the greatest things anybody in that position can understand is that that's normal, and you should never expect anybody to work at the same level as you or to look at things the same way as you. I think it's about finding the right mix. But there's definitely challenges in that. There's no question.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah.
Go ahead. Because that's what I do to the people that work for me. It's like I want, I expect them to, or I would like them to. And I've over the years, I've really learned to kind of really pull back on that and just go, hey, all right. Well, hey, for that person who wants to join you, and look, here's what everybody, I always encourage my audience, if they've gotten anything out of this, to reach out and say thank you to you. Where can people find more about you or reach you, Michael?
Best place to find me would be stjeanrealty.com, www.stjeanrealty.com. Send me an email, give me a call. My information's all listed there. Happy to chat with anybody anytime.
Awesome, man. And look, I'll be the first one to kick off that thank you train, man. I appreciate it. All right, bud.
Thank you.
Let's keep in touch.
Sounds good.
See you, pal.
Bye-bye.
This show is produced by me, Toby Salgado, with help from our research team and production done by Viralcast. If you're building a team and want to make sure you're doing it the most efficient way, reach out to Corcoran Coaching. They coach 83 of the nation's top producing teams. And for our listeners, they'll give you a free business evaluation. Send an email to bubba@corcorancoaching.com and let them know I told you guys to call.
Let's go. Yeah. For those of you that want to know what we're all about, it's like this, y'all. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15%